There seems to be a difference of opinions there, David.
And Peter, we don't know where it came from. So just on the floor of Parliament, it was just dropped as though somehow it was this passing remark that then became policy. And I just can't tell you how much that has sent shivers throughout the community. To everyone in small and family business who are looking for some certainty for them and their staff, for everyone who just wants to wrap their arms around a loved one by Christmas time, and everyone who wants to see a pathway out of this pandemic, and to somehow introduce a new dynamic to that about kids under 12, which is contrary to the national agreement that's following the Doherty plan that the Premier signed on to somehow introduce that. Well, to me, that's promoting fear over hope, and I'm not going to have a part of that.
Well, it's not just contrary to the national agreement, David. It's contrary to Queensland's own health advice, which says severe complications in children are uncommon. Serious illness remains rare. So is fear-mongering, is it the politics of fear that she's playing at here?
Well, I just want to move away from this whole pandemic premier status and get back to trying to give people hope and opportunity. And that comment ran contrary to everything we've heard. And we're better than that. We're better than that as a state, and we're better than that as a nation. And I just want to see an end to it. I want to see an end to the confusion. I want to see an end to the mixed messaging. I want to see an end to policy that allows sporting families to come here, but Queensland families stay locked out. All of this nonsense has got to end. And I'm calling it for what it is. And that is nothing more than pandemic politics. And I want people to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it does come with vaccination levels. And we've got agreed targets, and we're going to work towards them. At the moment, Queensland's at the back of the pack. And it's because of mixed messaging. It's because of the failure to roll out mass vaccination hubs. But above all, it's because of a lack of confidence which has stemmed from the Premier down. And it's got to stop.
To be fair on her, she has kept Queensland safe. Numbers are and have been very low throughout the course of the pandemic. But New South Wales and Victoria are now proving and have now conceded that COVID zero is a fallacy. It's impossible. So how long do you think Queensland can hold out for?
Peter, we love the fact that Queenslanders have responded magnificently. And when we have had breaches, and we've had our share of breaches in hotel quarantine and even in our medical institutions, what has happened is Queenslanders have responded when they've been given a direction. But there is the stone cold reality that the virus is around. And what I want is to know that there is a pathway out of the way that we're living. I want to know that there's a pathway out of that fear. I want people to know in small and family business that they can invest because there is a future. And every time that we undermine confidence in the vaccine rollout is one day further away from getting back to where we need to get back to.
Would you open up the borders to New South Wales with case numbers where they are at now?
I'm not talking about throwing caution to the wind, and I'm not talking about walking away from health advice. But what happened yesterday on the floor of Parliament was exactly that. We had a Premier introducing her own health advice, and that does nothing about the confidence. What I would say to people is go and get vaccinated. And if you want to somehow claw back a sense of normality, if you want 2022 to be the year that we can look life in the eye and get back to living without fear, where families can reunite, that is the ticket to freedom. Not peddling pandemic politics, not peddling fear, but peddling hope, opportunity. But that comes with a strong vaccine rollout.
But would you be comfortable opening up the Queensland border to New South Wales with thousands of daily cases every day?
No, I'm confident about telling people to get vaccinated. Get vaccinated and then life can return to normal. Now, at the moment in Queensland, less than 1 in 3 people are fully vaccinated. We are at the back of the pack. And we are at the back of the pack because Queenslanders don't have confidence in the vaccine strategy. We don't have mass hubs that are rolling out. And above all, there's no clear path forward. So in absence of a bit of leadership from the Premier, allow me to provide it for the people of Queensland. Go and get vaccinated, and we will hold the Premier's feet to the fire to make sure that commitments are honoured, that we stay the course, that we hit the targets and that we deliver life the way that people want to live.
But just to be clear, was that a no that you wouldn't open up the border while New South Wales has thousands of cases every day?
I'm going to be clear that I want people to reach the target, Peter. And until we reach those targets, it's all a moot point. We've got to get there. We've got to have some confidence. We've got to tell people what success looks like. And there is no success until the vaccine has rolled out. So let's pin our ears back and make it happen now.
OK, so that's a no up until 80%, right? I'm just confused here. So that's a no up until New South Wales reaches 80%?
Well, Peter, I didn't sign on to the national agreement. The Premier did. I didn't stand up in the floor of Parliament and introduce a whole new cohort of people who need to be vaccinated before we get back to normal. So in absence of that, I just say to people, stay the course. And at the end of it all will be the confidence that we need as a state and as a nation.
But you are, just to be clear, you are Queensland's alternative government. When would you be happy to open up the border with New South Wales?
Peter, I don't have the health advice. I know what the plan that was signed onto, and I saw the circus that happened yesterday. And all I can do is give people confidence that they need to stay the course and the government will honour those agreements.
Okay.
And as an opposition, the best thing you can do as an opposition is to be determined and fearless and put forward the government's feet to the fire. Okay. And we have done that consistently. I haven't walked away from a single thing during the course of this.
If you do open up later on, whenever that is, are you confident that your hospitals can handle the influx?
Peter, we've seen what happens in this state when a government starts losing control of the health system. And anyone in recent times who's called for an AMBO and it hasn't arrived, and that's not because of the fault of the AMBOs, that's because they're sitting at the end of a ramp. We have historic levels of waiting lists and ambulance ramping in this state. Now, I don't think that's an excuse why we shouldn't be giving people hope to go and get vaccinated. The government needs to work on fixing that health crisis, and we've prosecuted that week in, week out. But likewise, the government also needs to give hope to Queenslanders. And the greatest hope that there is comes with vaccinations, and I'll continue to talk about that every day of the week.
David Crisafulli, appreciate your time. Talk to you soon.